The 3-10 New York Jets will take on the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday. Do they have a chance to win? At this point, do we even want them to? And if so, where do they go from there? We're going to debate all of that tonight with Jake Asman from the Jake Asman Show. So let's get fired up. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not. The New York Jets may not have given us much to look forward to, but this show will. This is the place where Jets fans come to feel better. Now, I had always wanted to make Jets content. I've had this idea for years and years. However, if I had not come across the Jake Asman Show when I did, this show wouldn't be what it is. It probably would have just been like game highlights with me doing a voiceover. But when I saw his show and I saw him interacting with the callers and the callers interacting with each other, his show just kind of epitomizes what a great community we have and how awesome this fan base is. So if it wasn't for that show, this show wouldn't be what it is right now. And he is the biggest and the best Jets content creator. He had a show this morning and then did a few hours of ESPN radio and then a show tonight. And now he's here. I wasn't even going to ask because I know he had been sick, but this guy is just an absolute machine. There's nobody who puts out as much content as he did. The hardest working man on YouTube, Jake Asman, joins us tonight.
Rickie, what's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Hey, man. Great to have you. Awesome. From the time I started this show, I kind of had a list of guests that I wanted to have on. And you were my number one guest that I wanted to have on this show from day one. So it's awesome to have you here.
Wow. Well, we need to have a higher standard of guests that you want on, because if I was number one, I mean, it's a pretty low bar, but I appreciate it.
No, man, it's been great. And, you know, like I was saying, if it wasn't for your show, this show probably wouldn't be what it is because, you know, seeing you take calls from callers and interacting with the callers and the callers interacting with each other, it just kind of inspired me to do what I'm doing. So, you know, big props to you for that.
I'm just glad you got the internet figured out, Rickie. That's the key to any talk show, having working internet if you're going to be on the internet for it.
Oh yeah, it was a nightmare there for a while, and had I known the fix was as easy as what it was in the long run, I would have done it much sooner. But thankfully, all that's behind us now, and we can move forward. And it's been doing great since then. You know, things have been looking very up. The channel is starting to steadily grow again. Before we get into some Jets talk, I see her in the chat, and I just wanted to let her know earlier today on your show, I had you pick a number and basically pick the winner for our ladies t-shirt that I'm giving away. And Valerie Felito, you won the shirt. So you could email me, rickienewyork@yahoo, and give me your info, and I will get that sent right out to you. So congratulations to Valerie for that. At any rate, so we got a game with Jacksonville this week, and ordinarily I would like circle as a win, but Jacksonville's been good this year. They got the number 2 defense. Trevor Lawrence has been looking much better, and that's going to be a tall task. And I'm not sure we have a chance to win that game. And at this point, I'm not even sure I want them to. I mean, I can't bring myself to root for losses. However, I'm okay with it at this point. If it means we can finally get our quarterback and move on from this decade of misery, I'm okay with it. I really am. I'm okay with losing out. And I never thought I would say that.
Yeah, I get it. It's not ideal, but I just don't see how winning any of these games in the long run helps the Jets when they clearly need a quarterback and there's only going to be a finite potentially available to them. And even if you say, well, they have all these picks, they do, but I'd like to save as many of them as possible so I can help that quarterback that they're taking. So, look, we have no control over it. So if they win, we'll deal with it. But to me, like it's very tough to argue that losing these last four is not in the best interest of where they're going.
I completely agree. I completely agree. And I completely agree with you also that I'm okay with giving up a little bit to move up, but I don't want to give up all of our assets to move up on a guy that really at best is 50-50. Like any prospect is like that. You never really truly know. And CJ Stroud looked like the greatest thing ever his first year. Now he's been kind of up and down. Jaden Daniels looked amazing last year. This year, not so much. So even when guys have a really good rookie year, that second year when teams have a year worth of film to watch on them, like it can be a sophomore slump. So it's really kind of hard to tell until you get a few years into the process. And I don't know how much patience that the ownership, the fan base, or anybody else is going to have when it comes to that. It's hard on these kids to expect them to win right away, but hey, we've been waiting a long time. We need to get this thing turned around.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know how many more years we could take of just putrid football. It's not even that they're just bad. It's just that we've seen so many games where, you break offensive records for ineptitude. Like we've seen games where, the starting quarterback of the team had under 60 passing yards like 4 times this year. It's just it's hard to stomach it, man. It really is.
I'm telling you, I used to get upset because Zach Wilson couldn't break like 170, 180 in a game, and now we got a quarterback that can't break a third of that. It's mind boggling, but
Painful.
yeah, I mean, like right now, the Jets have 3 wins. We've got a rookie head coach who has made some rookie head coach mistakes, an uncertain future at quarterback. And, at times the team has looked good. At times they've looked awful. It's been very inconsistent. And those are facts. Like that's just the way that it is. And it's hard to gauge if we're making progress or not, with that being the situation. 1 year ago, I mean, we had a coaching staff that, even though Saleh was a rookie head coach too, last year he had 4 years of experience. So we had a coaching staff that had experience. We still had Sauce and Quinnen, but we had a healthy Garrett Wilson. We had Aaron Rodgers. We had Devontae Adams, and our record was, well, it was 3-10. But the difference is it didn't start off 0-7. And there were times with that team where the offense actually looked like it could be productive when this year has been a real schedule. But at the end of the day, the record is no better than it was, this time a year ago. So it's kind of hard to say that we're making progress. You know me, I'm an Aaron Glenn guy. I've been all in on him from the beginning. I think he is the right guy for the job, but you got to get the quarterback. Like that's what it all comes down to. Without a quarterback, it's a moot point.
Yeah, look, there are some things that Glenn has done a better job at since the beginning of the year. The special teams is probably the best thing you could point to that's improved year over year. They have cut down on some of the penalties, although there's been several games this year where penalties have really cost them and hurt them, where they came at critical times. It's just been ugly all around. I mean, he's not going anywhere, so the hope is that they get the quarterback situation figured out this offseason, because if their strategy is to do another bridge for a year and wait till 27, I don't know why any Jet fan would expect this to be any better than what we're getting right now. I mean, maybe there's a few more wins a year from now, but that's not a given. And they have to give you something as a fan to believe in. And the easiest way to do that is to get one of these young quarterbacks and try and build around them.
Absolutely, man. Like, we've been waiting a long time. This fan base is so amazing, and we just deserve better. Like, we deserve better than what we've gotten. And, you know, if there's any progress, I could at least say that this team at times it looks like they're trying to figure out ways to win instead of figuring out ways to lose. But I mean, dude, like you were in Tampa, you saw the Will McDonald play, and then with a minute and a half left, we figured out a way to lose that game. Uh, like that Patriots game, where we give up a punt return with 4 seconds left to lose when we were ahead. Like games like that just rip your heart out as a fan, and I'm tired of seeing that. So hopefully they can get the discipline, the culture set, and bring in more Glenn type guys. But with Tanner and Muji both being former quarterbacks, it kind of gives me hope. And the main thing I like about this coaching staff is the fact that Glenn and Muji both have scouting backgrounds. So I feel good about their ability to evaluate talent. So I'm thinking they can get the right guys. And I really hope so.
I hope you're right because even the guys that are really good at coaching offense, they've struggled with picking the right QB. So much of it is luck. What I do like about the situation any rookie with the Jets would step into is that, it's probably the best offensive line a Jet rookie quarterback is walking into since Sanchez. You do have a number one receiver. Let's say they keep Reese. Like there's some pieces here to feel good about. I think they need to supplement their skill position players with another receiver. I'd like another tight end. It's just they don't have enough. They don't have enough right now, but they're not starting from nothing no matter who the quarterback is, which I guess if you want to try and find some positivity, there's at least that.
Right. And yeah, we've definitely got some holes. Like if it's me, I'm overhauling this entire linebacker group.
Oh yeah. The
Definitely
defense
need
stinks,
another
that's for
tight
sure.
end. Ironically, in between the time I saw you this morning and this evening, I was actually watching a bunch of film on a tight end who at the moment is like a day three guy, but being that he's going to be at the Senior Bowl, he could end up. I have a feeling he's going to climb up draft boards. Is Tanner Kazeel from Houston, who's like 6'7", 250 pounds, and he had like 4 games this year where he had 23 catches in 4 games. Like you talk about contested catches, and maybe I got a little bit of a soft spot. As soon as I turned on the one video, it was like his highlights with like Guns N' Roses music, and so I was like, man, watching a 6'7" tight end just moss DBs to this music, like it kind of made my day. But yeah, man, like we've only got Mason Taylor on the roster next year,
That's
so
it.
we're gonna have to add to that group for sure too. But with adding the right players, and I'll tell you what, out of all the players that I've watched and done research on so far, and it pains me to say this because I'm agreeing with Alan, and me and him usually don't see eye to eye. But dude, Dylan Thieneman, the free safety from Oregon. Oh my God! Not only is he a ball hawk, and you can say like Jim Rat, first guy in, last guy out, like all those, things that you always say, but it's all true. And he's like such a vocal leader on that team. Like that is a guy we need in our secondary, like a real leader and just dude, just a ball hawk. And when I started watching his highlights, he had a pick versus Iowa, like right off the bat. And I'm like, okay, this is why Alan likes him. So, but yeah, that would be like almost like a must draft player for the Jets because my God, dude, Tony Adams is bad. And I'll give Glenn a little bit of a pass because coming in, he didn't know these guys' personalities or work ethics. All he knew was what he saw on tape. And maybe he thought he could get something out of him. But dude, him running into our own guys, knocking a interception out of Stigger's hands, like Tony Adams just sucks, dude. That kid is uncoachable, and I can't watch any more of that.
It's it's brutal. They completely misevaluated some of the players on this roster because they went out of their way to tender Tony Adams. Like they chose to bring him back. They chose to re-sign Isaiah Oliver, Clemens still being here. Like they I don't know. I think if they could do a lot of do-overs, they would. I think especially on defense, but also, part of me is concerned that, some of these players we think are terrible on defense or they're not having good years. Well, that's because they're not being coached properly with Wilkes and that staff. So that's concerning too, because it feels like other than maybe like Jawan Briggs, can you name another defensive player that has like gotten better this year or has really flashed or improved? It's tough to do. Like I really can't give you too much.
Yeah, I mean, you could maybe say there's been like a moderate improvement from Kiko because he really looked lost at the beginning of the year and he's at least been okay, recently. But yeah, it's hard to point to much improvement on that side. And it's also, I think, misusing the personnel or not using the personnel. We got two undersized linebackers that their speed is their best attribute and we never blitz them. When we do blitz Quincy, he gets home, but we never friggin' do it. Like it's really aggravating. It's aggravating to watch. And if there's a bright
Zero
side,
takeaways this year, zero interceptions, one defensive takeaway all year. Like that's all you need to know. Like it's unacceptable.
it really is mind-boggling, that part of it. And I guess if there's a bright side to any of that is that at the end of this season, if someone's head's got to roll, Wilkes is the obvious candidate. I think he's going to be the sacrificial lamb when it
He
comes
should
to
be.
firing
Rickie,
somebody, and he
I
should be.
I would be flabbergasted, like absolutely flabbergasted if Steve Wilkes survived this year. Like you could say whatever you want about Aaron Glenn, but he's got to have a feel for this defense not getting the job done, and someone's got to pay the price. So again, I'd be flabbergasted if Wilkes survived this. There's just no way.
Yeah, I don't see how. I mean, we're giving up 30 points a game to some of the worst teams. Like it's been really bad. And I understand like he's the older guy with previous coaching experience. He's, can be kind of a mentor to Glenn, somebody for him to lean on. Fine. Leave him your assistant head coach or whatever and give him a title to make him feel better about it. But bring in a new DC because he's just not getting the job done. Period.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I feel like we were bamboozled into thinking Wilkes was a good hire. I know I was. I didn't really question it. I thought, okay, previous head coach with some experience there. He's been successful at times as a DC in the league. My big regret was not looking more into what specifically happened in San Fran, why it didn't work out. It hasn't been a good fit. Again, I think we were bamboozled into thinking this was a better hire than it actually was.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I was the same way. I figured previous head coaching experience, this would be good, for Glenn to have someone that he can go to with things. But as it turns out, they were blowing smoke up our ass. And usually I'm not one to object to blowing smoke, but in this case, not cool, man. Yeah, we could have done better. And if I can say anything, it's that, they had aspirations of what the team could be going into the year. The defensive line wasn't up to par. They brought in Phillips and Briggs. Michael Carter wasn't the same after his injury. They brought in Brownlee. So when things haven't worked, they've at least addressed those problems. And I hope that extends to the coaching staff and Wilkes the same way it did to the players.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think some of the coaching hires have been good. We mentioned Banjo. I'm still optimistic on Engstrand. I think he does some good things. I don't love like Charles London, for example, as like the quarterbacks coach. And the O-line coach, I think, has done a pretty good job. I don't see a lot of uh good coaching on the defensive side of the ball. Again, they don't have an interception all year. They have one takeaway. It's disappointing. I do think some of it is talent related. I'm not naive to that, but they had 8 of their 11 starters returning year over year. And it's not like when Quinnen and Sauce were here, by the way, they were having like all pro level seasons. And then, Quinnen leaves and he's immediately back to what he was when Salah was coaching him. He's playing like a first team all pro for Dallas. So it's disappointing, right? I mean, Will McDonald hasn't had the year we thought he'd have. Jermaine, you give him a bit of a pass coming off the injury, but you leave this year going, man, do we need 2 new linebackers, 2 new safeties, at least 1 edge rusher, right? Another DT probably. So you probably need 5 or 6 new starters on your defense, and that's really disappointing.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, the thing about Jermaine is even though he hasn't had, the stats as far as sacks, he has created a lot of pressures. I mean, it sucks that that guy is, you could almost say that, like he's a decoy, but he at least attracts some attention, maybe frees other guys up. But yeah, I'll give him a pass coming off the injury. But as a whole, this defense has been very underwhelming from what I thought it would be.
It stinks. Yeah, it's again like I'd like to see Glenn more involved in the defense day to day. Like at this point, I guess there's no point. But like, let's see how he handles the Wilkes situation because I'd argue Glenn should call the defense next year. Like, like play to your strengths, man. Like go down swinging, doing what you do really well. Like D'Amico calls the plays in Houston. Like look at their defense. Like Salah took over play calling. It was like not public, but he got really more involved after that Bengals game in 2022, and then the Jet defense never really looked back. That someone told me that a couple of years ago. So I just think Glenn kind of took a hands-off approach and let his coaches coach this year in year one. Let's see if there's some adjustments in year two where he's maybe more involved in something like defensive play calling on a per game basis.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. And that's the other thing is the fact that, Glenn likes to run man. Wilkes is primarily zone, and they tried to marry those two systems together. And I think they should have picked a lane, one or the other. I think the mixing of the two was a bad idea.
Pick the lane train, if you will.
Yes, exactly. This isn't the time to experiment. You're trying to build something new. Go with what works. I would prefer to see Glenn's system as opposed to what Wilkes ran, but especially considering our personnel. But I definitely expect him to take a more hands-on role going forward because, like I said, what we've been doing hasn't been working.
Yeah, like they need a lot, man, and like obviously personnel, but I think so much of it is coaching. They have the resources to do it, right? Like New England completely revamped their defense through free agency. Like to me, spend money in free agency to fix the defense, and then you could be aggressive in potentially using the premium picks they have on offense beyond just quarterback, as we all know is the biggest need.
Yeah, absolutely. And one domino already fell today. Defensive tackle Travis Jones, who was set to be a free agent, Baltimore re-upped with him today. So there's one of my very favorite free agents that came off the board. And now I'm kind of crossing my fingers that Quentin Lake, the safety, doesn't also resign because he's the other guy that I have penciled in as like a guy that would really, really help this team. Dude, I know that you've done a ton of content already today, so if there's ever any point that you need to dip out, let me know. I know you said you got something later. If you're down, I'm going to bring on a caller.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I got a caller about to come on who will occasionally be co-hosting with me here, and I'll bring him on right after this quick public service announcement from the King.
Listen up! All you incredible people out there looking at your computers, looking at your phones, make sure you like and subscribe to Rickie New York, baby! Jets! Yes!
Zach, man, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Excellent. Can
you hear me?
Doing very well.
Awesome.
So, do you
Jake,
want to
what's going on, man?
weigh in on this? Do you want to weigh in on this debate?
Oh, absolutely. I'm always down to the debate. You know that. Come on.
What about smoking?
Smoking?
Yeah, smoking debate with Rickie New York.
That's my guy. Always ready.
Always ready. Yeah, no, I'm of a similar ilk, I would say. I have been jamming out to my big board I've been establishing. I have 295 prospects on there now. So needless to say, I've been doing the grind, watching the tape, and I gotta say, the more I watch Mendoza and Dante Moore, the more I think that if one of those first two picks is available, the Jets are going to trade up for it. and depending on where the Raiders land is going to dictate a lot, because if they do finish in that first spot, I mean, that's over and done with quick. So you're hoping for, somebody to play let's make a deal at that point. And then the question is, does the price go up? Because that becomes like the foregone conclusion after, number one pick is going to be the quarterback. So it's like that's going to drive up the price for number two, which is going to be like the real number one at that point, right? So it really, I think a lot of it depends on whether or not Dante Moore ends up declaring, and that would really reshape the entirety of the quarterback class, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people act like it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to go back to school, and everybody goes, "Oh, the NIL money." But dude, it's like a $7 million a year difference from what he would make in the NFL compared to NIL. So like that's not chump change. Like, and with the quarterback class being so loaded next year, like, do you want to be the number 1 or 2 guy, or do you want to be like the number 5 guy? Like, I think there's a hell of a lot of incentive for him to come out this year.
Completely agree. I mean, honestly, I don't know how much he'd be making in NIL. I think something like 10 mil when I believe the first overall pick garners something like $40 million contract. And then it, starts decreasing, from there throughout the rest of the draft. So the odds are is that if he does declare, he's going to be a top 3 pick. And, it's a whole lot more scratch to take home. So I would think if I was his agent, having just lost my offensive coordinator, I would be vying for the move to the pros.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I think there's a lot more incentive for him to come out than to stay in. Dude, I love
Did you
the fact
guys
that you got
happen
your
to
big
see?
board so big already. Like, I'm a sicko, so I love watching film. Like, I watched probably 5 hours already today between Tanner Kazeel and Skylar Bell, the wide receiver from UConn, which that was an enjoyable
Oh
watch. I
yeah,
had fun with that. He's a really fun player.
I like the guys who do the assessments at SIS. They had him as one of their top 6 receivers this year
Now that's the Rickie NY internet I was expecting to have.
in college football.
Yeah,
So I do think he'll, he might be one of those.
yeah, Zach, you're cutting in and out a little bit.
Day 2 sort of steals, if you will.
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys pay how much attention to pro
That's awesome.
football focus. They had their college football All-America team they debuted.
I have not seen that yet. Damn. Okay. And he froze up on us. Zach, try to drop out and come back in, because I was curious to see what you were going to say right there. And man, I think my internet issues must have been contagious. It's like I passed it along to other people now. But yeah, like I appreciate Zach because he's a film junkie like me, and I love it. I can't get enough, and I'll probably sit down and watch another full game, or if not 2, after we get done here. Next up is our Mason Thomas, which I'm thinking, hell, last year we got Mason and Thomas. Maybe this year we can get Mason Thomas.
You're a draft junkie, Rickie. I love it.
Yeah, I really am. Like I'm like a future Dom C, hopefully. And dude, you know what? One of my big goals is I probably wouldn't be able to pull it off this year, but the following year, I definitely want to see if I can't get myself into the Senior Bowl and go and get a look at some of these prospects for myself. And dude, if I could have any job in the NFL, I would want to be a scout. Like I love that shit, evaluating talent and doing the breakdowns on the players. Like that would be my dream job, would to be a scout. So I have fun. Unfortunately, being a Jets fan, we usually start talking draft, by Thanksgiving time these last few years, but it wasn't always like that for me. Like I became a fan like just before the 98 season. So my first season ever as a Jets fan was an AFC championship game. And we were good for like a decade, and then there was a couple off years and then we had Rex. And so I was used to like a winning culture, as a Jets fan, and kind of somewhat naively unaware of how bad the history had been prior to me. But, now it's been a decade and a half of just bad, unless you want to count like the Fitz Magic year. But, it's been really rough. And every time I think they're starting to turn the corner, I get fooled. So, hopefully this time is different. I think it helps that we have a former player and not a guy that learned football out of a book. So, we'll see. I've been banging the drum on Glenn all year. And at the end of this, I'm either going to look really smart or really stupid.
Has your confidence wavered at all in Aaron Glenn based on the 3-10 record?
You know what? I will admit, as gung-ho as I've been, I will admit, when it got to be like week 5, week 6, and we still didn't have a win, there was some doubt creeping in there. Like I was like, damn, man, maybe this isn't going to turn out how I thought. And thankfully, we came back, actually won a game after the bye, and there was a little glimmer of hope where it looked like, damn, okay, maybe they're starting to turn the corner. Maybe these guys are, starting to learn how to win. And I just wish there were more teams from Ohio. That's really all I can say at this point. That's
I wish we dominate Florida teams because that'd be 2 wins a year right there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, definitely. And 3 wins this year, 2 with the Dolphins and 1 with Jacksonville. That would be nice. And I'll tell you what, earlier in the year, I'd actually thought about going to that Jacksonville game. And I am so glad that I decided against it because, dude, there's nothing worse than watching your team lose and then having to drive 3.5 hours to get home after stadium traffic. It's happened to me before at that stadium. And, I was thinking, Jacksonville's a good place to go to watch a game because it's always only about a third full. You can always get a good seat. But, yeah, I'm glad I decided against it this year because Jacksonville is much better than I thought they would be, and we are not as good as I thought we would be. So, in hindsight, good choice.
That game might be unwatchable, so I think you made the right choice.
I have a feeling it's really I have a feeling it's going to be bad. And they've got a Josh Allen too. And weird because I remember 2 years in a row, I wanted the Jets to draft a guy named Josh Allen, which is kind of odd. But their defense has been really good. So it's going to be a tough task for us. Hopefully, Adonai Mitchell can kind of bounce back. He had the one good showing, and then this past week, not as good. I hope some of these young guys can turn the corner and really start to develop. But even if, Mitchell shows progress, if Mechie shows progress, that's not going to preclude me from taking another wide receiver high in this upcoming draft.
I agree, Ricky. I think receiver to me is still a big need. Like I really don't even care what AD Mitchell and Mechie do the rest of the way. I just think you rather have too many good receivers than too little that don't make the same mistake they did with Darnold and not giving him enough talent around him. Like I think in a perfect world, Mitchell's your 3 or 4. Same with Mechie in whatever role. And you add someone to that room to go with Garrett Wilson, to go with the fact you have a good tight end and Mason Taylor, and you're bringing back Brees. Like, let's have too many weapons. That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we have to add a receiver, whether it's, a big body guy like Denzel Boston that catches everything, somewhat early in the draft, maybe a little bit later, like Skylar Bell that I watched today. I'll tell you what, the tenacity of that kid and the way that he never gives up on a play and is always fighting for extra yards, like he really struck me as like an Aaron Glenn type guy. But or whether it's Deuce Robinson, 6'6" wide receiver that I like from Florida State, who was a Biletnikoff finalist. And me, I love Florida State.
I'm Rickie, New York, and I love to smoke. Florida State, I really love Florida State. Hey, easy Thomas, you know it's from Florida State. At any rate, I call into smoking debate. Florida State, I really love Florida State. At any rate, thanks for taking my call, Jake.
Yes, thanks for taking my call, Jake.
Love it. Gator's a genius.
He really is, man. I love those things that, every time he cranks out a new one, like, the Mad Max and the Orange Wall and just like, he just keeps coming up with them and they're all so good.
Did you see the JJ Open that's brand new this week?
No, I haven't. I did catch his last phone call though. And wow. You know what? I wish he was on Discord. Or is he on Discord?
JJ, I think he is. I don't know how active he is in there though.
Okay, awesome. I got a cartoon goalpost that's on wheels, the movable goalpost. And if he's on Discord, I'll have to send that to him because it fits perfect with his call today.
The Mr. Heisman Trophy winner himself.
Man, the metrics that he was using to judge and the way that they constantly change. I'll tell you what, if Steve Wilkes could call a defense that was as multiple as JJ's metrics on his call, we'd be world beaters.
You're not wrong. I mean, hard to be much worse than what we've seen from the Wilkes defense. So I'm open to all suggestions.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. Wow. Well, you know what? I don't really have any other callers lined up right now. And I'm going to probably dig back into some film tonight. I'm kind of putting together my own big board as we speak. And so I'm probably going to call it pretty soon here. But dude, thank you so much for coming on. This was a blast. Awesome to sit down and smoke and debate some Jets football with you. Like I said, you were my number one choice of guests to have on. And, this has been a long time coming. Been looking forward to it. So thank you so much for coming on and doing this, man.
Anytime, Rickie. You've been a great caller to the show for years. So fun to join you on your show. Glad the internet was tremendous out of you. And I'm going to go watch this game in your backyard between Tampa and the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The return of Mike Evans tonight. So, it's a good thing for Tampa. So, yeah, absolutely. You know what? I should probably be watching the game, but like I said, I'm probably going to be watching R. Mason Thomas. I got a couple of games of his to watch tonight. So, man, talk about a nonstop motor. Just what I've seen already. That kid is ferocious. Something else. But when we get done here, I'll actually send you a clip of that tight end that I was watching earlier on Discord. But
I'll take a look.
Once again, man, thank you so much. And Valerie, if you're still there, remember, email me your info, shirt size, and where I can send it to, and I will get your shirt out this week. Dude, everybody, thanks for joining me. Appreciate all you guys like always. And until next time, go Jets.